Well, good morning. Pray that this morning finds you well and blessed. It is a beautiful morning. Man, it's in the 60s and the sun is shining. And I feel like during this whole time of our this sort of chaos, man, the weather has been wonderful. Very unlike Southeast Texas at times, and I feel like the Lord is kind of like, okay, yeah, no, this is a messed up time, and I'm going to get you through it. And here's some pretty weather to help you. So, but I hope you are well. Today, the lesson that I want to talk to you briefly about this morning is one. I love it because it is literally like a my daddy's stronger than your daddy type lesson. And I spent most of my life without a dad, and so man, this is cool because you just look at Jesus, and it's talking about the time where Jesus revealed his power, which is sort of interesting because the title of the lesson is Jesus reveals his power, but you kind of look and go, man, like it's hard to point out, right? You can't really pinpoint times where Jesus reveals his power because my goodness, he was so good at that. But one of the things that's brought up in the lesson this morning that's super interesting is talking about superheroes. And I'm one of those guys. I love the Avengers. I love the Avengers series. The Avengers and the Transformers are two of my favorite, maybe just because it's crazy action and it's all this going on, and that's sort of the way I live my life. And um, the Avengers are, when you look at superheroes, okay, you look at Superman, you look at or Clark Kent, and you look at excuse me, Bruce Wayne. And one of the things that they bring up in the lesson this morning is even Mr. Incredible, Bob Parr, right? And these are all crazy cool superheroes that have all these powers and all these abilities that they sort of keep hidden. And the reason they keep hidden is because just the overwhelming, man, especially now. Can you imagine if a superhero hit the earth right now, with the media and social media and paparazzi and all the stuff that surrounds him, just the attention that they would get. And it talks about Mr. Incredible and all the times he had to move his family around from one place to another because he would reveal his power on just kind of like he would save someone in an instant and then go, oh, I'm not supposed to do that, right? And then people know who he was, so he'd have to move. And it just talks about the way that they hid their powers. Jesus was very different. Now, I do not want to compare Jesus to Mr. Incredible or Clark Kent or Bruce Wayne, okay? So don't get that. But Jesus was not afraid to reveal his power. In fact, Jesus revealed his power lots of times, unless there were times that he didn't, and he told people, don't talk about me, don't tell people who I am. He even, excuse me, like on the road to Capernaum, there were some times where he kept his identity from people, right? Well, it wasn't for fear of fame. It wasn't for fear of persecution. It was just because that's what God told him to do at that time. That's what his daddy told him to do at that time. But there were other times where he wanted his power revealed so that he did not ever do it for his own fame, but for the fame of God and who he was. And so let's take a look at this this story, because this is just so cool to me, because it's Jesus saying, look, watch this, right? And he doesn't say that, obviously, but we're going to be in the book of Mark. And so if you'd like to turn in your Bible, if you're following along, by the way, thank you for watching this morning. But let me turn my ringer off. That's probably a good idea. But if you're following along, we're in Mark. We're going to be in chapter 1, verses 21. And just check this out. This is just the coolest. I love watching Jesus do his thing. I'm reading, again, out of the New Living Translation. And so, again, Mark 1, we're going to start in verse 21. And it says, Jesus and his companions went to the town of Capernaum, When the Sabbath day came, he went into the synagogue and began to preach. I mean, what else is he going to do, right? Or it actually says teach. The people were amazed at his teaching. I thought this was so funny. For he taught with real authority, quite unlike the teachers of religious law. In other words, that's a sort of a shot, right? Throwing shade right there. They didn't have no authority. And it says, suddenly a man in the synagogue who was possessed by an evil spirit cried out, "Why are you interfering?" I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's how he talked or not. But he said, "Why are you interfering with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." And so this evil spirit comes and recognizes Jesus and said, "What are you doing here?" So Jesus says, in verse 25, it says, "But Jesus reprimanded him. 'Be quiet. Come out of the man,' he ordered. And at that, the evil spirit screamed, threw the man into a convulsion, and then came out of him." And it says amazement gripped the audience as they began to discuss what had happened. "What sort of new teaching is this?" they asked excitedly. "It has such authority, even evil spirits obey his orders." The news about Jesus spread quickly throughout the entire region of Galilee. So cool, man. Jesus was teaching with incredible authority. This guy came in and he was like, "Why are you here? What are you doing here?" And Jesus was like, "Okay, look, evil spirit, hush and beat it," right? Hush and beat it. And the dude did. I mean, the evil spirit came out and left him. People were like, "Man, what is going on here? This is crazy cool." Well, who is it? Because it says that, it doesn't say that they asked, what sort of teaching is this? They weren't like, "Oh no, what sort of teaching is this?" It doesn't say scared. It doesn't say, "Man, what sort of teaching is it?" Right? No, they were excited. "What sort of teaching is this?" they asked excitedly. It has the authority, even evil spirits obey him. And then if we skip down to verse 35, first of all, verse 29, man, it goes on through 34 and it talks about it's Jesus healing people and all this. And then it goes to 35 and check this out. Jesus is preaching in Galilee and it says, before daybreak the next morning, Jesus got up and went out to an isolated place to pray. Later, Simon and the others went out to find him. When they found him, they said, "Everyone's looking for you." But Jesus replied, "We must go to the other towns as well. I will preach to them too. That's why I came." So Jesus let them know, dude, look, I'm not here to just talk. I'm here to preach. This is what I am here to do. So he traveled throughout the region of Galilee, preaching in the synagogues, and casting out demons. Verse 40, a man with leprosy came and knelt in front of Jesus, begging to be healed. "If you are willing," now I want you to hear that right there. He doesn't say, "Hey, Jesus, if you're so good, you can," or he doesn't say, "If you're so good, heal me and make me clean." What he says was, he recognizes who Jesus is, and he says this, "Jesus," he says, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean." In other words, I know you can do it. I know who you are. And it says in verse 41, moved with compassion, Jesus reached out and touched him. Right? And he says, "I am willing, be healed." And instantly the leprosy declared the man was healed. Mic drop, right? Jesus takes a look. He's like, this guy comes, he's teaching and preaching. This guy comes and like, "Listen, Jesus, I know who you are. I know you can heal me. If you want to, I would love for you to," right? Jesus is like, "I am willing, be healed." Bam, mic drop, dude's healed. Man, listen, that shows the power of Jesus. He was such a crazy, incredible teacher. I mean, we have to understand. Here's what we have to understand. We have to understand that we talked a couple weeks ago about the temptation of Jesus, and we have to understand that Jesus was 100% man. Okay? So he faced all the temptations. He had the same struggles. He just didn't give in to those temptations and struggles. Okay? So Jesus was 100% man, but Jesus was also 100% divine. See, that's what sets him apart. He was 100% man, but he was 100% divine. And so when we hear people, when people ask for things, it's real easy and man, to be judgmental, right? It's real easy to be judgmental and to say, man, they don't need that, or they're just doing that for this reason. Listen, Jesus saw people. Jesus knew people's who they were, and he had compassion for them. And remember, Jesus didn't get caught up in worldly passions and pleasures and temptations and, the fame and the idolatry. He didn't get wrapped up in that. He kept his heart, soul, mind, and strength on who God is, on what his father, what his daddy was calling him to do. And so that's why he did the things he did. I think where we're different is that we see people and we judge them. And if we feel the Spirit at a stoplight telling us to hand a guy $5 because it looks like he needs it, we go, we don't know what he's going to do with that $5. I'm not fixing to give him any money, right? Well, listen, because we can't see, our heads, we don't think like Jesus did. We judge. Well, I'm sorry I'm getting excited this morning, but we just need to be very, very careful. We need to commit to prayer. To ask God, help us to stay focused on the mission set before us, just like Jesus did in our minds. May we keep our minds on who you are. And then when Jesus, like when he healed the man of leprosy, he sort of he provided a model of what it means to have compassion, and he saw the man and saw his need, and he met his need because he felt it, because he knew the man needed help. Jesus was valued compassion. He was unafraid and unashamed to touch the man. Understand that to touch a man with leprosy during those days was absolutely it was revolting. It was unsettling. It was disgusting. And I don't know if you've ever seen the disease of leprosy. It's tragic what happens to these people. They lose body parts, like literally body parts will fall off. I mean, it's just a horrendous disease. And so, but Jesus looked past that. He said, he may have been thinking, man, this is gross, but I got to handle this. And he saw compassion and he healed the man. Listen, we're just so judgmental. We can't be that way. We have to see people in our head. We have to see people in our hearts. And Jesus' teaching and miracles point us not only toward the power of who Jesus is, but to his purpose, to his compassion. And this book talks this morning about power, purpose, and compassion. And when those are all the identity of God. They work to the identity of God. Listen, we have a calling to tell others about who Jesus is. And I just challenge you this morning to reach out and see people. Remember the power of Jesus. And I don't know if y'all know this, but in this book right here, he tells us that we'll do even greater things than he did, which I know sounds ridiculous. It does to me. And I don't know what he's going to call me to do, man. I don't. But I just want to be ready to do it. Whatever it is, I just want to be ready to do it. And so my challenge to you this morning is to look at this incredible, these incredible instances where Jesus, in the name of God, performed these incredible miracles. And he did it not for his own glory, not for his own fame, not for his own recognition, but so that people would look at God and say, man, I got to get to know that God. And so, man, maybe you're watching this morning and you don't know Jesus. Hit me up. I would love to introduce you to him. Hit me up. Anyway, I love you, and I'm looking forward to the time where we can meet together. It's coming up. Just so you know, May 31st, we're meeting right here as a church, Old River Baptist Church, 12948 FM 1409, right here in North Mont Bellevue, South Dayton. Call it whatever you want, but we're on 1409. We'd love to have you here, Old River Baptist Church, May 31st. We're having 3 services, and then on June 3rd, We have our first youth meeting. Oh my goodness, I'm crazy excited about that. Be right here on Main Worship Center, 7 o'clock on May 3rd. On June 3rd. And so May 31st, church, June 3rd, youth worship. Join us for one of those. I pray that your day is blessed. I love you. Have a great day.